They whisper, not loudly, not harshly, but in that way that brushes against the edges of your mind, soft, yet persistent. You notice it first as a quiet weight in your chest, something that settles without invitation. It is not pain that strikes immediately, nor is it anger. It is the gentle ache of being seen, and yet unseen at the same time. There is a space between who you are and what the world expects of you, and in that space, the weight lingers. Sometimes it comes as a look, a glance that holds more than words. Sometimes it comes as silence, as though they are waiting for you to speak, to respond, to make yourself small or large in the way they need you to. You feel it in the pause of a moment, in the stillness before a word is spoken, and in that pause, your heart notices the subtle tremor of expectation. Can you meet it? Should you? And yet, you are not certain why it matters so much. The body remembers before the mind can even name it. Your shoulders tighten, a small tension in your jaw, the slow settling of unease along your spine. There is a rhythm to it, as if your own patience is being tested, softly, carefully, without ceremony. And you ask yourself, quietly, in a voice that is almost only your own, why this should matter to them so much. What is it they are waiting for? And in the stillness, a strange thing happens. You begin to hear yourself, not the voice that reacts, that argues, that defends, but the deeper, quieter voice that has always been there. It is not loud. It does not demand attention. It simply observes. It notices the small stirrings of tension in your chest. It watches the fleeting shadows of expectation cross your mind, and it waits. It waits, and in that waiting, you begin to feel something shift. You notice the subtle beauty of being alone with your own thoughts, even in the presence of others who seem to pull at your edges. There is a strange clarity in it, a gentle recognition that the world does not always need your immediate answer, your immediate defense, your immediate explanation. What a relief it is, even quietly, to allow that to be true. You do not have to fill every silence. You do not have to meet every look. Sometimes the act of simply being still is enough. The ache in your chest softens almost imperceptibly as you begin to understand that the weight is not only theirs, it is yours too. And perhaps it always has been. It is the weight of caring, of wanting to be understood, of wishing that the world could see you without your voice, without your force, without your motion. And when you see it this way, the weight is no longer entirely heavy. It is a presence, a companion in quiet observation, a teacher in patience. You start to notice the rhythm of your own breathing, slow and deliberate, in through the nose, out through the mouth. A simple, unremarkable pattern. Yet in its simplicity, there is a kind of refuge. Each exhale releases a tiny measure of tension. Each inhale draws in a small thread of calm, and you realize that you are not powerless, even here, even in the soft pressure of their gaze and their whispers. There is a strength in noticing, in simply being present, without bending, without responding. And yet, there is sadness, too. Not the loud kind, the kind that breaks in waves, but the soft, quiet kind that hums beneath the surface. The sadness of realizing that being gentle, being careful, being observant, these things are often misunderstood. They are not weakness. They are not absence of will. And still, you feel the subtle ache that comes with the world not seeing the depth of what you carry. But perhaps it is not for them, after all. Perhaps this quiet weight, this slow, tender burden, exists for you as much as anyone else. Perhaps it teaches you something that cannot be taught in words, that cannot be demanded by expectation. You learn the contours of your own heart in the stillness, the small, unremarkable ways you respond or do not respond. The way you carry yourself through moments that might have otherwise felt like storms. There is a certain grace in this, not the kind that is celebrated or noticed, but the kind that this sits quietly in your bones. You do not rush to rid yourself of the weight. You do not flinch from the ache. You let it settle, let it teach. Let it move slowly through you like water over stone. And in this gentle, unhurried way, you begin to understand that the weight is also a doorway, a passage into something more enduring, something that is yours, something that no one can take, no one can whisper away. And in the quiet of this understanding, a small peace begins to rise, as subtle and patient as the slow turning of the night. Would you like me to expand Section 2 next in the same style to continue the story? In their eyes, you are often a question they cannot answer. They tilt their heads or glance away, as if your silence confuses them, as if your calm is something to puzzle over. It is strange how the quiet can be so easily mistaken for something it is not. How the absence of a quick word, a quick motion, can be read as weakness, as absence, as emptiness. And you wonder softly why the world measures presence by noise, by movement, by reaction. You feel a small shiver of loneliness in this misunderstanding, not sharp, not urgent, but persistent. They do not see the careful thoughts that shape each moment of stillness. They do not hear the careful weighing of words, the gentle sorting of feelings before anything escapes your lips. And so they assume, quietly, that nothing is happening, that nothing matters. But inside, you know otherwise. It is a curious thing to be misunderstood in the quietest ways. You carry a depth that cannot be seen at a glance. You carry patience that does not clamor for attention. You carry a strength that bends without breaking, that rests without surrendering. And yet, they cannot read it. They only see the surface, the still water, and they wonder why it does not ripple. There are moments when this misunderstanding presses lightly on your chest, a soft, almost invisible weight that lingers behind your ribs. You feel it in the slow tightening of your shoulders, in the quiet settling of breath that does not quite reach your lungs, and you wonder, softly, if you should speak, if you should explain, if you should break the silence to make them see. But every time the thought rises, you pause. Perhaps it is not necessary. Perhaps the understanding they seek is not yours to give. And in that pause, you begin to notice the rhythm of your own thoughts, moving quietly beneath the surface like gentle water under stone. Each thought is careful, deliberate, aware. You observe them as you would leaves floating downstream, not with judgment, not with urgency, but with a quiet recognition of their passage. And in observing, you realize that being misunderstood does not diminish the truth you carry. It does not erase the careful, measured way your heart moves through the world. Sometimes the misunderstanding feels like a shadow that stretches across the floor, long and soft. You cannot grasp it. You cannot push it away. It touches the edges of your awareness, yet it cannot penetrate the core of who you are. You notice the subtle tension that comes with it, the small ache in the chest, and you let it exist. You let it sit quietly beside you, neither welcoming it nor fighting it, simply allowing it to be. There is a strange beauty in this patience. The world may not understand the depth of your stillness, the strength in your restraint, the careful way you choose each response. And yet, you feel a quiet pride, not loud, not demanding, but soft and steady. It is the kind of pride that comes from knowing your own heart, from recognizing your own rhythm, from seeing the truth in yourself that no misunderstanding can touch. You begin to notice how small gestures and soft moments carry weight, even when unseen. The way you let a pause breathe before speaking, the way your hands rest calmly in your lap, the way your eyes, quiet and patient, take in the world without needing to change it. These things may go unnoticed by them, but you feel their significance. They are a reflection of something deeper, something enduring, something that belongs solely to you. And in this reflection, a gentle sadness mingles with the quiet strength. It is the sadness of realizing that being misunderstood is part of the human path, that patience often walks alone, that silence can be both a shield and a barrier. But even in this sadness, there is understanding. Even in the quiet ache, there is recognition of the beauty in holding yourself whole, even when others cannot see it. Sometimes you imagine what it might be like if they could see, if they could perceive the small, steadfast power that moves softly within you. But even as you imagine, you do not depend on it. You rest in the knowledge that your depth, your calm, your quiet presence exist regardless of their eyes. It is yours to carry, and in carrying it gently, you begin to sense a kind of freedom. The heart settles slowly into this quiet acceptance. The tension softens, almost imperceptibly, as you allow the misunderstanding to drift like leaves on a river, neither clinging nor resisting. And in that soft, unhurried flow, you discover something subtle and lasting, that being misunderstood does not define you, that your stillness, your patience, your quiet strength holds its own truth, luminous and calm, even in the shadows of others' eyes. Would you like me to continue and expand? Section 3. Next, in the same reflective, timeless style. There is a quiet power that grows in the spaces between words, in the moments when you do not answer, when you do not rush to meet the expectation of others. At first, it is so subtle that you almost do not notice it, like a soft light rising behind closed eyes. You begin to see that strength does not always demand a voice, does not always need to push or pull. Sometimes it is the stillness itself that holds the greatest authority. You watch yourself move through the day, through the soft currents of attention and expectation, and you notice the difference that restraint makes. The impulse to react, to speak, to explain rises quietly, as it always has. It comes with the familiar tension in your chest, the restless flutter in your hands. And yet, you pause. You feel the pause stretch, like a small bridge over a gentle river. And in that space, something remarkable begins to settle. What is remarkable, you realize, is not that you withhold words, but that in withholding them, you meet yourself more fully. You begin to sense the quiet contours of your own heart, the subtle ways your mind and spirit carry themselves when they are not drawn outward to meet every push and pull. There is a slow recognition that silence, carefully chosen, is not emptiness. It is a form of presence, a way of holding yourself whole, even as the world presses in. And so you start to notice the effect on your own being. The tightness in your shoulders softens. The fluttering in your chest calms. Your thoughts, once scattered like leaves in a wind, begin to settle in small, deliberate patterns. You feel an unexpected lightness, a sense that not every moment requires your reaction. Not every glance demands your defense. And in that lightness, you discover a quiet authority that has nothing to prove. It is strange how soft it feels. There is no clamor, no applause, no acknowledgement from the world outside. But inside, there is a small, steady flame. It warms, it steadies, it teaches, it whispers that your worth is not measured by your answers, nor by the speed of your replies, nor by the intensity of your presence. It is measured quietly by the constancy of your being, by the care with which you hold yourself, by the patience you extend, first to yourself, and then to others. Sometimes the world presses harder. They poke, they prod, they look for cracks. And yet, you do not break. You do not rush to fill the gaps they see. You remain quietly observing, breathing through the tension, letting the moments pass without disturbance. And in this, there is a soft triumph. It is not loud or visible, but it is profound. A subtle declaration that your inner peace cannot be moved by the judgments or confusion of others. You notice the small ways this restraint changes you. Your mind no longer races toward imagined conflicts. Your heart no longer leaps toward imagined offenses. You feel a kind of spaciousness inside, a room where your thoughts can exist without constant disturbance, where feelings can move and settle in their own time. And you begin to understand that power is not always the echo of a strong voice. Sometimes it is the calm, measured rhythm of a patient heart. And yet, there is a tenderness in it too. The power that grows in silence is not harsh or rigid. It does not crush or dominate. It allows mistakes. It allows misunderstandings. It allows the gentle flow of life to continue. You hold yourself firm, not in iron, but in the quiet trust that your being is enough. And in this trust, there is a kind of freedom, a slow release from the tension of needing to prove yourself at every moment. You begin to notice how the world changes around this quiet authority, not because they suddenly understand you, not because the world bends to your patience, but because you carry yourself differently. There is a subtle lightness in your movements, a gentle steadiness in your presence. And even when they do not see it, you feel it in yourself, a soft confirmation that choosing silence over reaction is not passivity. It is strength, measured and enduring. And in the stillness of night, when the world is quiet, and your own thoughts are your companions, you recognize this as a gift. The gift is not in what others see or do not see. The gift is in how you have learned to move through life with a steady heart, with a mind that observes before it leaps, with a soul that rests in its own quiet power. You feel the gentle pride of someone who has learned that strength is not always loud, that authority is not always declared, that peace can be quietly earned in the spaces where words are not needed. Would you like me to expand section 4 next, bringing the story to its calm, inwardly strong conclusion? Alone with your thoughts, you begin to feel the weight of everything you have carried, not as a burden, but as a companion that has walked with you patiently. There is a quiet recognition that life does not always require explanation, that the heart need not defend itself at every moment. You feel a soft release, a gentle letting go of the small tensions that once seemed so urgent, so necessary. And in this release, you find the first traces of calm. You notice the way your breath moves through you, steady and unhurried, carrying a rhythm that no one else can disturb. Each inhale is a quiet gathering. Each exhale, a soft surrender. The spaces between breaths feel like small rooms where you can simply be, where nothing demands your answer and nothing demands your movement. Here, in these quiet spaces, you begin to understand the depth of your own dignity, the quiet strength that has grown slowly without notice. It occurs to you that self-respect is a gentle thing. It does not shout. It does not need applause. It rests softly in your chest, like a candle that burns without smoke, without noise, yet fills the room with warmth. You feel it in the steadiness of your hands, in the calm of your gaze, in the small, deliberate choices you make when the world expects haste or reaction. And in feeling it, You realize that peace and power are not opposites. They are companions walking together quietly through the corridors of your own being. You think about the moments when you were tested, when they pushed, when they whispered, when they waited for you to break. You remember the small tremors in your chest, the fleeting desire to respond, the tiny ache of being misunderstood. And now, looking back through the soft lens of reflection, you see that none of those moments diminished you. Each one in its subtle way allowed you to discover a strength that is neither loud nor demanding, but patient, enduring, and whole. There is a tenderness in this understanding, a quiet kindness toward yourself that grows in the silence. You recognize that you do not have to prove your value through action or word. You do not have to explain the depth of your heart, the care in your thoughts, or the steadiness in your patience. They are yours. They exist quietly, solid and calm, even if no one else sees them. And the relief of this realization is like a gentle tide washing over the small anxieties you have carried. You begin to notice the way the world, in its soft persist, INSA, continues to move around you. And yet, you are no longer pulled. The currents of expectation, the subtle pressures of others, drift past you like wind over a still lake. You do not cling. You do not resist. You observe quietly and allow. There is a deep satisfaction in this observation, a sense that you are no longer defined by what they see or what they demand. You are defined by the steady, quiet truth of your own presence. And in this steady presence, there is a soft joy. Not a loud, bright joy, but one that hums gently beneath the surface. A quiet warmth that fills the spaces of your heart. It is the joy of knowing that you have not been broken by misunderstanding, that your calm has not been mistaken for weakness, that your silence has been a choice rather than a surrender. You feel the subtle growth of dignity, the slow flowering of patience, the gentle rise of self-respect that no eyes can measure. Perhaps the greatest gift is the recognition of your own inner landscape. You can move through it, sit with it, rest in it, without fear or haste. You notice the small details, the slow rise and fall of your chest, the quiet rhythm of your thoughts, the gentle settling of tension in your shoulders. And in noticing, you feel the soft assurance that this inner life, carefully tended, will sustain you through the quiet trials and gentle tests that life brings. You begin to understand that peace is not a distant place, nor a reward to be earned. It is a state that grows from the careful tending of the self, from choosing stillness when reaction tense, from allowing patience to hold sway over impulse. It is the quiet strength that carries you through the small, subtle moments of life, the kind that no one else may see, yet fills you completely. And as the quiet of night deepens, you rest in this gentle triumph. You are alone, yet not lonely. You are calm, yet not empty. You are strong, yet without tension. You feel a soft completeness, a dignity that needs no acknowledgement, a serenity that no misunderstanding can touch. In this quiet inward strength, the world may continue its gentle testing, its soft insistences, its quiet misunderstandings. But they cannot disturb the sanctuary you have built within yourself. Here, In the stillness, you are fully present, fully alive, fully at peace. And the gentle truth settles softly over you, that the deepest victories are quiet, the most lasting strength is calm, and the truest dignity is found in the tender, patient care we give to our own hearts.